A very good evening to you, South African, those watching around the world. My name is Blaine Herman, and this is Elections 360. We're coming to you live from the University of Johannesburg. Unfortunately, Sakina is not well. She's not in today, wishing a speedy recovery. But we're blessed to have one Bongiwe Zwane. Hey, Bongs.
Hey, Blaine. How's it?
Good.
Good. It promises to be an electrifying evening of judging by the singing is anything to go by. Now, tonight's town hall debate is brought to you in partnership with National Youth Network, Activate Change Drivers, and the United Nations Development Programme South Africa as part of the ongoing #WeAreVoting Youth Civic Education campaign.
Looking forward to the discussions, also facing off to the panel here, which I'll introduce in a short while. But let's tee it up for the audience as well with regards to an insert that we're about to play, and it deals with a very important issue, voter apathy, especially among the youth. What are we told? 27 million registered voters, right? Highest since the dawn of democracy. Good thing. But here's the issue. There are just close to 5 million youth that are registered. We're told between the age group of 18 and 29, there's about 11 million people that are eligible to vote. Question, why aren't they registered?
And Blaine, at the heart of it, of this lack of participation, they're citing issues around voter education. Also, at the same time, they talk about issues around unemployment. Right. They also speak about political parties that they say do not represent them. So, they've spoken to Cleopatra Jones. Let's watch.
From East Rand, and today we decided to visit a very special hood, Abaibiza Whiteville, whereby Oliver Tambo lived. Today we'll be sharing special views on why people are opposing, young people rather are opposing the fact of voting, or rather we'll be sharing views with why abantu kamele bavote, the importance of voting. I've gathered young people who will be sharing very strong views towards the topic.
But ngeke sivote ukuthi ngeke akuthi sivote angeke never
ngezela ukuthi ngiyovotela omunye umuntu kusasa lowo muntu mase phezulu angasiboni abasiboni abantu bayasiqhaphaza kayizini angeke ngo370 ufake ingane eboarding school udle right yonke into ngo370 umsebenzi ubuye mabuye ecollege or ubuye university but experience uthatha experience.
Young people, they must make sure that they play a part in the future that they want to see. And it is to make sure that they involve themselves. And one of the right constitutional that some other people died for, it is a right to vote. So I'm getting very unhappy, very angry when a young person say boldly that I will not vote.
asibuzwala ngoba siyathanda mfethu sifundile sinama degrees and then kodwa mase siyafaka ama CV lapha yana thathwa abantu akuthola ukuthi bebayadiza or inini asinazi imali zokudiza phela.
I believe it's really important that people go out in numbers and actually vote, so that after the outcomes of the vote, we shouldn't not slide. We should come together as the youth and say, okay, we have voted, what are you guys going to do for us? And demand that the change that they promised us through our manifesto is actually instilled.
The day, but yabona mayina imsebenzi sebenzani. It's the day mina ngizokwazi ukuthi ngiyifake, ngivote, ngenze yonke into kumele ngiyenze for South Africa.
Okay, Bazali, sizwile different views on why abantu abasha bangavote, or rather why abantu abasha kamele bavote, or rather the importance of participating towards this year's elections. Siyabonga kakhulu bahlali.
All right, many thanks to Cleopatra Jones there for that insert. We will be tackling some of those important issues that in that insert. An audience-driven program. Bongiwe is with our live audience currently. She's going to get those all-important questions from the audience to the panel to get you some answers. We need to leave you better educated, better informed than we got in, right? So let's get to it. And let me start by introducing the panel. From my immediate left is from the ANC, we have Tutukile Zuma. From the EFF, we have Mafia Fane. Ngobizita Sitole is from the NFP. From Rise Mzansi, we have Wiswa Ramahopa. And Nobuntu Hlazo Webster is from BOSA. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. It must be mentioned that we did invite the Democratic Alliance. They haven't arrived as yet. Nicholas Nyati was supposed to be representing the Democratic Alliance, so hopefully they arrive. We'll try to slot them in a short while. Now, opening remarks with regards to how you see the issues and your possible solutions. You'll have 1 minute. You'll be timed. Unfortunately, due to the time constraints, I'll have to interject if you go over a minute. So let's start with you, Tutukile, your opening remarks. Your time starts now.
Good evening to yourself, good evening to the viewers at home, and of course, good evening to my fellow panelists and most importantly, the audience here today. My name is Tutugile Zuma. I'm representing the African National Congress. We're here to talk about youth voter apathy. But more especially to encourage young people to vote. Because whether you vote or whether you don't vote, the government of the day has a fundamental impact in your life. So why would you not want to have a say on what your life looks like? Also, young people are the ones who are going to inherit this country and inherit the South Africa in the future. So why would we not want to shape that future? This vote that we have is a hard-won vote. It came through struggle and through bloodshed for us to have this vote. More importantly, there are a number of youth-focused interventions in the manifesto of the African National Congress that speak specifically to youth issues. Out of our 6 priorities, the first priority is getting South Africa to work. Jobs, jobs, jobs. The ANC is going to create 2.5 million jobs. We can see in Gauteng province, we have already started that good work with Mzansi Spani.
Your minute is up.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mafia, your time starts now. Your opening statement.
Thank you very much. Greetings to all the viewers at home. My name is Mafia Fani. I am representing the Economic Freedom Fighters. We are here to participate in a debate to really reaffirm to the people of South Africa that it is not a moment for us to give up. Even when the situation or the conditions to which we are living under, we still have to reorganize ourselves and try to find solutions for all the problems that we have. I hear my colleague here is speaking about creating employment, 2.5 million. A person who's representing a party that has been in power for almost 30 years today and still speaks about creation of jobs that are 2.5 million. And then the youth of South Africa today will get an opportunity to really listen to young people of the ANC on what they say about the ANC being able to create employment for young people.
Thank you very much indeed.
And will be able to do that.
1 minute is up. Thank you very much indeed. All right, let's hear from the NFP. Ngobizita.
Thank you. Greetings to Bongiwe and Plains. I also extend my greetings to the audience and viewers at home. Well, another issue affecting the youth worth talking about perhaps in the future is the issue of underemployment. You know, it's a university graduate working as a till cashier at a supermarket. So the issues that affect the youth are hereditary and emanate from public institution, weak strategy, information sharing, and lack of monitoring and evaluation. We need to broaden our thinking horizons as young people. A job opportunity is not limited into getting employment from a government or a public institution. But it is rather are ways in which young people can explore avenues of earning an income. So our policy proposition encourages the youth to become more job creators instead of job seekers. And it promotes youth inclusion in economic growth.
Has run out. We'll hear more from your part in a short while. Let's hear from Mzansi now. Vuyiswa, your time starts now.
Good evening and greetings to the leadership of the Mzansi Student and Youth chapters and to everybody at home. My name is Vuyiswa Ramokgopa. I am the Gauteng Premier candidate for Mzansi. Young people are the biggest shareholders of this country. At 60% of our population, young people should be holding the biggest stake of the future of this country, and that means the opportunities, the economy, and everything that this country is producing. That is not currently the case. So when we see high levels of voter apathy, it is because young people need to see dividends for their participation. And unfortunately, because of our no growth, economic growth, and the fact that there's high unemployment rate, that has not been the case. So Mzansi is saying we need to grow this economy. We need to create real long-term sustainable employment opportunities for young people, not work opportunities and peace jobs. We want real work for young people, and we want to ensure that your time
All right,
is not wasted.
Thank you very much indeed for your time. All right, let's hear from Nobuntu from BOSA.
Good evening to our hosts, good evening to my fellow panelists, and to the young people who are here tonight. So there's a generation that has never seen the system work. There's a generation that has seen load shedding and knows load shedding and studying by candlelight as a norm. There is a generation whose parents and grandparents have been waiting for houses since before they were born. There is a generation who has never seen their parents work in sustainable employment throughout their lives. And as Build One SA, we're saying that that generation needs to be empowered to take power back into their hands, first of all, economically. And so our policies say that young people need to be able to have a stake in the economy. They need to be able to be empowered to own businesses and be able to also employ other people, and that young people also need to be able to participate meaningfully, even in governance. And we've done that even with our candidacy and with those who stand for parliament today, with our youngest being a 21-year-old who comes from Wits.
All right, Nobuntu, thank you very much indeed for your time. Look, lots to discuss. We're going to go to Bongiwe in a short while to test some of what was said on this panel. I understand that the DA has also arrived, so we'll try to slot them in during the break. More next. Stay with us. You're watching Elections 360. We're live from the University of Johannesburg. We're talking all things youth related, and that's what the show is all about, is getting from the people some of the questions that they have and posing it to the leaders that want their vote. Let's go straight now to Bongiwe Zwane, who's with the live audience. Some of the issues, Bongi, that they're talking about.
Thank you very much, Blair. And of course, this is an audience that's eager to ask some of the political parties here their questions. And of course, some are raising some of the issues around unemployment you think about in the insert. Others are saying that you're forgetting us immediately after you get our votes. So, good evening, sir. Your question.
Thank you very much. Let me start by greeting everyone who's attended today, and especially the leadership of the EFF. My questions, firstly...
You only have a maximum of 2. Keep it brief.
Okay, firstly, my question, I'm posing it to the EFF leadership when it comes into government. We are faced leadership with a situation whereby students, for an example, here in this institution, 600,000 students applied in the beginning of the year, but the institution could only take about 10,000 students. So what we are asking is that what will the EFF government do in order to cater for all those remaining students? And the second one, as we are seeing as the youth, that the students, that NSFAS is very corrupt, and it has affected our student, and myself as a student leader, it has affected us too much. I want to ask, what will the EFF leadership, how will the EFF address that issue, and what kind of models will the EFF leadership use to distribute those allowances of students and make sure that corruption is addressed? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Blaine?
Bongi, thank you very much indeed. Also, you'll notice that the DA, Democratic Alliance's Nicholas Nyati joins us. Thank you very much indeed, sir, for coming through. We'll get your take in a short while. But this question was to the EFF Mafia with regards to the issues of placement.
Okay. No, thank you very much. I think we must all agree that in the past 30 years, since the dawn of freedom, the government that we have in South Africa has not managed to build institutions or higher learning institutions. If you can remember very well, the only institution that the ANC can pride itself with, it's Solplak University in Kimberley, and also University of Mpumalanga in Bombela. And those two institutions they are still under construction and they're not done. But if you check all other institutions that are here, institutions that existed before 1994. And that shows that the government of South Africa does not have a plan in terms of how it is going to accommodate its own youth to ensure that they get spaces in institutions of higher learning. We've got a lot of young people who get out of school or who leave school at grade 12, over 1 million of them. But the only spaces that are available in the whole of South Africa, it's not more than 250,000. And that shows that there's a serious crisis of spaces in institutions of higher learning. But you will not get spaces if you don't build institutions. In South Africa, there are no universities that this government that is here now can pride itself with to say, we have built these institutions. If you can go to Solplaki in Kimberley, I don't know if that thing is a high school or it's a university, because it doesn't take even a posture, it doesn't even look like a university. So we've got that crisis, and then the EFF government, when the EFF comes in, the EFF wants to decentralize institutions of higher learning. For instance, if you can check in Wits University, we've got a Department of Engineering. Why put engineering here where it's seated, or for instance, mining here in Johannesburg, when we know very well that the hotspots of mining, they are in the northwest, in Marikane, they are in Mpumalanga, where we are mining coal. So we need to decentralize it and make sure that we've got satellite campuses that are going to be stationed where work needs to be done, and our people will be able to get education and at the same time get the practicality of it.
An interesting stat that I was reading from Stats SA report, going to say that the percentage of individuals with secondary education more than tripled from 9.4% in 1996 to 34.7% in 2022. And there's a large increase in terms of tertiary education attainment. Nicholas, good enough, too slow?
Look, I think perhaps let me first try and assist my brother to answer that question. The question was twofolded. The first one spoke about placement, and I think we've missed a fundamental point. You can never speak about access to universities without addressing basic education. Majority of the people who do not make it in institutions of higher learning are people who do not have enough APS points. A student leader would know that. We decreased the pass mark for matric. Pass mark for matric says you can get level 3 in all your subjects and still pass with a B. University entry requirements say for you to study engineering, nursing, or whatever, you need level 5. How are you going to enter that institution of higher learning? The second aspect is a logical one, is that we can never speak about transforming tertiary education if we do not speak about FET colleges. Because institutions of higher learning is not only university. What practical skills are we giving young people? Let us decentralize, my brother, by saying we are going to go back to teaching colleges, nursing colleges, where we can be able to empower people. All of us here have seemed to forget about colleges. We must never do that.
All right, Nicholas.
The third aspect, you spoke about NSFAS funding model. I think the best to answer your question, NSFAS has been corrupted through policies of the governing party, cadre deployment. Secondly, with university subsidies. If you look at university subsidies from 2008 to 2016, they've decreased. How do you decrease university subsidies? That is going to amount in universities increasing their fees. Secondly, what support as government are we giving to, number one, student accommodation? Are we subsidizing a person who's into student accommodation? Are we subsidizing shops that sell textbooks for our learners? No, we are not. So we can never truly transform NSFAS without looking at it holistically.
Right.
And we can never truly transform the higher education sector without looking at basic
Nicholas,
education.
thank you very much indeed. Tutukile, you wanted to weigh in before I go back to Bongiwe?
Yes, thank you very much. I think because we're a ruling party, we have a responsibility to be factual, and we have the experience of governance. First and foremost, in basic education, 80% of all South African schools are no-fee schools. And children in those schools eat a nutritious meal in those schools every day. That's a fact. Secondly, NSFAS, with all its challenges, which we are tirelessly working to resolve, has 5 million young people who benefited from NSFAS, who, if it wasn't for NSFAS, would have not been able to enter this institution that was previously called RAU, that the South African government transformed to the University of Johannesburg. So with all its challenges, 5 million South Africans have benefited from NSFAS, who would have never been able to enter university doors.
All right.
We must also be factual in just two small
points. You can wrap
points.
up your point.
Thirdly, we have built 2 new universities. My brother started by saying they haven't built universities. Oh no, actually they have, but then there are 2 new universities that did not exist in this country before 1994. Lastly,
We are committed to skills development even outside of the four walls of universities. In Gauteng, just less than 500,000 young people will benefit from the program of Ikrash Kolova, where national government and Gauteng government have collaborated to upskill young people of Gauteng and prepare them for the economy we are building.
All right, thank you very much indeed. So I'm going to come back to you in a short while. I need to get a quick question from Bongiwe. We will come back to you. Bongs?
And Blaine, of course, the conversation around NSFAS, interestingly, is taking place at a time when the institution is under administration. So lots to talk about on that particular front. But good evening, sir. Your questions.
Good evening. My question is directed to Tutugile. We've already established that the NC is pretty much trying. I would like to give you... Yeah, I am for ANC. I would like to give you an opportunity to tell us what, in your rightful manner, do you think the steps you're going to take. It is how do you plan to tackle corruption and ensure accountability within your own ranks and government institution? Because we've already established that the ANC is competent, but we have a disease as a country, and that's a disease of implementation.
All right, thank you very much, Blaine.
All right, thank you very much indeed. Before I come to you, Tutukile, Visa, you wanted to weigh in on the last issue.
But just very quickly, how we deal with corruption in NSFAS and in government in general is to vote out the corrupt people. Is this corruption? They must go, and who are ethical, who have integrity, who will not steal from us in our futures. Number two, we spend a lot of time, and I agree, we have lots of people who are in university, lots of people who are funded by NSFAS. 700,000 students are currently enrolled in South African universities. But let's talk about the 3.5 million that are described as not in employment, education, and training. That is 5 times more. What are we doing for those people? I'm going to come to that. Number two, the 80% of no-fee schools are a function of the fact that the parents of those children have been economically crippled by this government and its failed economic policies. And our parents cannot even afford to put us through schools. So we are not dealing with the structure, dealing with poverty at a structural level. Instead, we are treating people of this country like they are ready and waiting for handouts from this government. And I'm saying we need a new approach, and we need new leaders who can actually solve the problems.
All right, Visa. Before we take a quick break, I need to go to Tutukile with regards to the question of corruption. Obviously, rampant corruption in general undermines public trust in government. What plans do you have to root out corruption and hold those who are corrupt accountable?
I think one of the strengths of the ANC is that we're a very transparent organization.
Give a chance to answer.
When we compile our candidate lists, we were the first political party to publish our lists of candidates who are going to parliament. It was us who pressurized the rest to do the same. But on the issue of corruption, corruption is a matter that the ANC, it's not a matter that is unique to South Africa. It's a matter that is there all over the world in capitalist environments. But the ANC is committed to fighting corruption. That's why we have institutions that fight corruption. But we must
let's give her a chance to
answer.
Let's give her a chance to answer.
We must remember corruption does not only exist in the public sector. For every corrupt public official, there's a private hand that is corrupting that private official. And the collusion of the private sector, we saw it when they built the stadiums. They were manipulating the rand. So corruption must be dealt with in all sectors. The public sector, which the ANC is committed to do, but also the private sector, which gets away with corrupt murder every single day.
All right, thank you very much indeed. All right, we need to take a quick break. When we come back, I see your hand, Nobuntu. We're going to get your take. Quick break, more next. We're live from the University of Johannesburg. Elections 360. Elections, no doubt important, but many will argue that what happens in between elections resonates more with voters. What are the real, tangible difference that politicians, those in power, make in your life? Before we went to break, corruption was highlighted. Now, I know Nobuntu wanted to weigh in on this. Nobuntu is from BOSA. Go ahead.
So I think the first is about the school nutrition program, which has been mentioned. That school nutrition program, in 2022, there were 4,000 reports from whistleblowers of corruption in that very school nutrition program under the ANC government. So it's all good and well to be counting what the ANC is allegedly purported to be delivering, but there is corruption even in that, and there are children who actually don't get that one meal that they are supposed to have every single day because of the corruption of the ANC cadres. So that's the first thing. The second, when you say that the ANC is dealing with corruption, you have to then be able to speak to just one, the state capture reports in which there were names, people in the ANC who were named in that state capture report, and then say, what has the ANC done about that?
All right, thank you very much indeed. Wabizita?
Yes, thank you, Blaine. You know, the issue of corruption is a very sensitive issue, and it exacerbates the problems that are currently happening in our society. The nutrition program at schools, our children at schools are being fed rotten food. I've witnessed it with my own eyes. So we are saying...
You say you witnessed it with your own eyes?
Yes, from
what did your party do about it?
Well, we as a party, as the youth, we are more for empowerment, and our message is clear. We want to interject where there are failures. So where we govern, more especially in KwaNongoma, we did contact the mayor of KwaNongoma, and we helped with supplying certain schools that were affected. Okay, the issue of corruption exacerbates the problems that we see today. If you look at NASFAS, is the result of cadre deployment, is the result of I hire you not on merit, but based on who you are, and I can micromanage you. So we are saying as the NFP, we are well known for being champions for service delivery and clean audits.
All right, give him a chance to conclude this point.
From where we govern. So we are saying, if you want to root out corruption, you vote out those who are corrupt and vote NFP.
Thank you very much. Before I go to Bongiwe, Mafia and then Nicholas.
No, thank you very much. I think we can all agree that we live in a capitalist society, and capitalism in nature is greedy. Capitalism in nature does not think about any other possibility of egalitarianism. The only thing that capitalism thinks about is maximization of profit, and anything that gives it profit, capitalism agrees with it. Now, what is happening here in this country is that the reason why we've got so much corruption is because the state does not have capacity to render any service. And that's what the EFF speaks very profoundly about in its manifesto, to say we must build state capacity. We cannot be able to rely on tenders for each and everything that needs to be provided to our people. The government departments, they need a toilet paper. There must be a tender that is issued out for a toilet paper to be supplied. The government departments, they need to clean. They need to issue out a tender for people to come and clean. We can build state capacity and make sure that we don't rely on tenders, and those services are given to our people. Because, let me make an example by the municipality where I'm coming from in Komas. That municipality, there are security guards that are working in that municipality. Those security guards, they are working for a security company. The security company is billing the municipality 160 million a year. That money would have been easily given to our people, and it will open more opportunities for our people to get employment. But now it is being given to one person, one personnel. The brokers are getting 13,000 for one personnel, and they pay our mothers and fathers only an amount of 3,000 rand, and they take the entire 10,000 rand to their pocket. So if we want to deal with corruption, let us do away with tenders. Let's build state capacity. On the issue of NSFAS, we've got corruption in NSFAS because look, even now, NSFAS was flourishing. Right. When the ANC politicians see that it's flourishing, they bring in labor brokers, they bring in people who must then come now and distribute funds on behalf of NSFAS. Why is the money not going straight to the pocket and to the bank of students when it has to go through a middleman before it can even...
Mafia, thank you very much indeed. Nicholas, to you, and then back to Bongiwe.
Mine is going to be very short. Corruption literally kills people. Last week, on Saturday, I was in a funeral of a child. The child drowned in a pit toilet in Mzansi and New 6. The name is Unecebo Mboteni. I don't know how these people can come and say that they represent the poor when children are still drowning in pit toilets. We speak about corruption as if it's this fancy thing, and we speak about capitalism. People are literally dying. Unacebo Mbotheni is not the only child. How can you, where do you get the audacity to come and speak when people like Unacebo have died? In Alfred Nzo, children have to cross rivers to get to school. They don't have school uniform. As the DA, we were there. We donated school uniforms for them. None of them were there. You go to Limpopo. In Limpopo, students still have to use pit toilets. You go to KZN with the nutrition program in KZN, people are being given rotten rice. Yet, us as politicians, we sit there and eat sushi and sip on my way. Our people are struggling. And the minute we start to believe as South Africans that corruption does not only kill us, but it kills the future of our children. And it's very painful now.
Nicholas, thank you very much indeed. We'll come back to the panel for more. Bongiwe, back to you.
All right, Blaine, let's get more questions, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you so much for this opportunity. My question is directed to the National Freedom Party. And the first one is, how are the youth integrated in the manifesto of the party? And secondly, it is about the track record. Political parties say a lot of things of they can and they will, but what has the NFP done for young people on the ground? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. What has the NFP done for young people on the ground? That's one of the questions. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, ma'am. My question is towards the African National Congress. There's a point that they raised about unemployment and them creating job opportunities, 2.5 job opportunities, 2.5 million. A point that was raised by the EFF leader is, for the past 80, plus minus 30 years, they have been in power, but there has only been an increase in the unemployment rate. So what are they planning to do going forward that they haven't been able to do in the past 30 years that they think can help us get more job opportunities?
All right, thank you very much for those questions. Blaine?
All right, to the NFP, let's go straight there, then we'll get a response from the ANC.
All right, thank you for the question. We as the NFP, we are empowering the youth, particularly those coming from the disadvantaged communities. So we make sure that the youth coming from previously disadvantaged communities take preference in our programs that we do. We have an initiative called Orange Fridays, where every NFP-loving member goes out to the community and empower our young people with information. We have graduates from fields that go to school to offer career guidances, because the problems of youth unemployment are directly linked to a lack of proper guidance in our careers. What the industry requires doesn't align with what the universities offer in today's world. So there is a misalignment of skills offered by our universities against what the industries are looking for. What the industries are looking for now are looking for graduates that have critical thinking, that holistic development. So we are advocating for an inclusive education. One, we want the education system to be a single education system as opposed to a dual education system. And we want to incorporate the system to include holistic skills, so that educate learners, when they graduate, they don't have a problem finding employment.
Youth vulnerability is not a once-off event, isn't it? It happens multi-pronged. So there needs to be a multi-pronged strategy in order to solve multi-pronged problems. We'll get to that in a short while. I need to take a quick break. Tutukile, I understand that the question with regards to job creation was directed to you. Quick break. We'll get more responses next. Elections 360, we're fast running the time for our SABC2 viewers. We're going to start getting closing comments in a short while. But before we went to the break, we were talking about job creation. Look, over 20 million of the South African population are made up of individuals which fit in the age bracket of 15 to 34. They should be the real engine of democracy, of the economy. But I'm looking at some stats. The fourth quarter of 2023, a total number of unemployed youth increased by 87,000 to 4.7 million. The question is, how do you kickstart this engine? That question was directed to Tukile from the ANC.
Thank you. I think the youth unemployment crisis is something that is close to all our hearts. I'm 35, I'm a young person myself, and it's something that within the ANC we're grappling with and fighting. But we mustn't look at our youth unemployment as if it just happens in a vacuum, right? We have an economy that remains untransformed. We inherited an economy that is dominated by monopolies and in the hands of a minority. So what we are saying that the ANC must do, which it is beginning to do, our president signed the post-bank bill to ensure that we have our very first state-owned bank so that we can fund industrialization and transform our economy. We're saying that we need systemic change, and it's only the African National Congress that has been engaged in over a century of struggle that can bring that systemic change. We need to break monopolies. We need to ensure that, say for example, in the telecom sector, you don't just have 3 companies. You have multiple companies so that more companies can create more jobs, can create competition and lower prices so that the cost of living also decreases for young people. And that's in the manifesto of the ANC when we talk about our industrialization and how we're going to ensure we've transformed the financial sector so that we create a conducive environment for the economy to go back to the hands of the people. Right. And that is the policy of the ANC, which the ANC through its manifesto will implement.
Tukile, thank you very much indeed. Bongi, I'll come back to you we've got time for about 2 questions. Let's take and then get final comments.
All right, perfect. Let's keep it very, very brief.
Good evening, ladies and gents. How are you? You're speaking to Khomoto Mazibuga from Kataras, former leader of Can I say it? No, let me not. I've led students, but now you leaders have failed us, all of you sitting right there in front of you. For starters, I'm going to say, you guys have water, we do not have water right down here, but you expect us to vote for you. You leaders there, you do not give us a voice down here as former students, as workers.
Okay, what's the question?
My question is, when is it going to stop where there's age restrictions of 35 here, where people get their job, unskilled people about over the age of 40 still need jobs, guys?
All right, thank you. Move on.
Hello, my name is David Gwala. What I want to say is that most of the youth, more than 50% of the youth that we're expecting votes from them now, were born in illegal squatters, and then they continue to be homeless, even as students. Some of them are sleeping in the corridors at universities and stuff, and then that continues to happen still today.
What's the question,
my 2 questions are, this is to all political parties. How are political parties going to deal with Section 25, subsection 2 of the Constitution, which continues to protect the land, continue to protect, to allow the landowners to refuse to sell the land to the government so that the land can be used for RDP and building of student accommodation. Number 2 is, I want to know if, do political parties believe that landlessness would lead to a civil war, yes or no? And this is to all political parties.
Thank you, thank
Bongi,
you. All right, Blank, it's back to you.
I think we will get more questions from the audience when we come back at the top of the hour. So let's include some of those answers in your closing remarks. We'll have a minute each because we have to close for SABC2 viewers. Let's start with you, Tutukile. Your minute starts now.
Thank you very much. I think it's very important that we defend our democratic gains. We need to ensure that all that we've achieved, we defend that, but continue to achieve more. On the issue of jobs, we're emphasizing youth jobs. We're not saying that jobs are only for young people, but we're saying young people are the majority in terms of the demographics of this country, and they need to be included, which is why we've scrapped experience for entry-level jobs, we've put set-asides for jobs, and in this particular province, City Nasi Ispani. Now, we need to ensure that we We need to ensure that we vote for the African National Congress so we can defend the gains. What gains are we defending? Defending social security, grants, RDPs, defending NSFAS, free education at a basic and tertiary level, defending pro-transformation policies that some of these political parties are against, policies that ensure that a black woman like I can be a CEO, something that was never possible before. Defend the gains of the LGBTQIA.
Tudukile, thank you very much indeed. All right, let's hear from you, Mafia, and your time starts now.
No, thank you very much. What we can say from the economic freedom fighters, number one, is to raise disappointment with the limited time that we are given here to debate. The issues of young people, my brother, are very vast. They cannot be responded to in 1 minute. What I want to say is, in South Africa, as things stand, black people in their entirety, they are not free. There's no freedom in South Africa. Because freedom would have meant that land is expropriated without compensation for equitable redistribution. Freedom would have meant that all strategic sectors of the economy are nationalized for the benefit of our people. Freedom would have meant that the state has capacity to deliver services without depending on tenders, and all the system of tenderpreneurship is cancelled. Freedom would have meant in South Africa that our people have access to free healthcare, free sanitation, free housing, and they've got access to free education. Freedom in South Africa would have meant that the state was able to build massive industrial development for the creation of millions and millions of jobs for the benefit of our people.
Thank you, Mafia. Zita from the NFP, let's hear from you. Time starts now.
Well, 30 years is a long time to turn things around. If there was a proper plan by the ruling party, it would have materialized by now. We are saying, as the NFP, we have a program called Active Youth in Agriculture. And it touches on the question that was raised about the land that is supposed to be sold to us, the youth. So we are saying, let us take preference of the land because we want to cultivate that land into a usable land. Let us commercialize traditional farmers in our communities and make them commercial farmers, because whatever livestock they have doesn't form part of the mainstream livestock that is out there. So we are advocating for young people to start their businesses for their sustainable growth. Thank you.
All right. Ngobi, thank you very much indeed. Let's hear from Mzansi. Rise Mzansi. Your minute starts now.
Just to respond to the question, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
To respond to the question about what have we done, we as Rise Mzansi have already taken steps. We are not in government, we don't have one seat in government, but we've already launched a program, One Meal, One Student, to deal with the issue of student hunger that is facing and plaguing millions of students in this country. Number two, we have taken on the issue of the jobs for over 35s. This government is putting artificial barriers for people who are over 35 as well. And we understand why there's that problem, because there's no growth in the economy, so nobody's getting jobs. So if we want a new future for ourselves, guys, we need to vote in new leaders. There's nothing that gets solved. The people who broke the system cannot fix the system. They have had 30 years to try. Let them go sit on the side and let other people also try and come with new ideas and come with new leaders.
All right, Principal, thank you very much indeed. I want to bring in now from BOSA, Lobuntu.
I think what the ANC doesn't realize is that in breaking the system and in breaking systems, it's broken people. And so when we talk about how they have the audacity to sit and quote statistics and not speak about the realities of corruption, the realities of an incapable and inefficient state, they don't realize how their corruption and their inefficiency has actually broken people. And so when you speak about how there hasn't been systemic change, that has been caused by the ANC. And it's time that we started to vote for a party like Build One SA, Our own policy is about saying, let us bring growth in economy in the townships. Let's build businesses and let's build the economy in the townships. Let people own businesses. Let people live where they work. That's when you start to see systemic change. When you have spatial injustice, the way you change spatial injustice is that you make sure that there's infrastructure that allows for an economy to grow in townships. It's time to put power back in the hands of the people and to stop making people dependent
Thank you very
on
much
350s.
indeed.
People
Thank
want
you.
to work.
All right. I want to hear finally from Nicholas from the Democratic Alliance. Your time starts now.
The only way we can create employment in South Africa is voting out the ANC and keeping out the EFF. We need to look at what is facing South Africa. You can never speak about skills and employment without looking at the holistic picture. We need to end load shedding and water shedding because it's killing jobs and killing the economy. We need to halve the violent crimes rate and GBV. We need to iron out the bottlenecks that are facing a young person who wants to start a business in South Africa has to jump so many hoops. The red tape in our municipalities and in our government to start a business is appalling. We need to start the factories. If you go to Asibeleni, if you go to Kruwa, the factories there have become dilapidated under this government. We need to go back there. And thirdly, on the issue of land, you cannot just say land. There are different types of land, and perhaps as a government incoming, we're going to start with the land that is in the
Thank you very
hands of
much
the
indeed.
government.
Even the audience is counting down. They've been timing us. Thank you very much indeed for your time, panel. That's how we wrap it up for the SABC2 viewers.
And definitely played what a fired up debate. But tonight's town hall debate brought to you in partnership with the National Youth Network, Activate Change Drivers, and the United Nations Development Programme South Africa as part of the ongoing #We Are Voting Youth Civic Education campaign.
Yeah, a number of issues, isn't it? The youth are facing a raft of issues: unemployment,
Yep.
poverty. We're talking about alcohol and substance abuse. We're talking about gender-based violence. Important issues. What do these people who are after your vote can do to change your life? We will discuss that next week. We're in the Free State. Please join us then. If you have access to DSTV channel 404, we're coming back with 20 more minutes of discussion. Join us then.
Good night.
University of Johannesburg, talking all things youth, all matters affecting the youth, nothing off the table. We have a number of political parties, those that are after the people that have gathered here, after their votes. Why? What can they do in order to improve the lives of many? Our umbrella question is, are the political parties in tune with the matters that are affecting the youth? That's our umbrella question. Let's go directly now to Bongiwe Zwane on the floor with the people who matter. Bongi?
Thank you very much, Blaine. Let's get more questions. One question, please.
My question is, I hear the 60% of young people has been spoken about. I'm speaking on behalf of PWDs, persons with disabilities. I'm partially blind. I'd like to know from the ruling party, Sis Zuma, that is sitting there in front, what are you actually doing about PWDs? There are no translators in clinics. There are no programs that are permanently there for PWDs. What actually are you saying within the education sphere? And in the SMMEs, I'd like to know, Uguti, why are you saying that you support PWDs when reality at the ground, you don't even check the companies as own PWDs? We are servicing already. Translation is in session.
Thank you very much, Siswam. We have to keep it as brief as possible so we take as many questions as possible.
Okay. There was a time in this country when students used to be employed part-time as waiters in the restaurants. Here's my question to all the parties. You are sitting with the DA there that wants to remove the minimum wage. And the minimum wage would have an impact on a student who earns a small wage. What do you want to say to the people of this country about the minimum wage?
Thank you very much. Next question.
My name is Tandwe Makoba, Ward 63, EFF member, Deputy Chairperson. My question is, we have new two problems. The Lento Yama learnerships and internships is suffering because we were at 35 and then after that you don't have any employment. The question is for all the political parties. How are you going to deal with these internships and learnerships because we are not employed permanently? Secondly, Honorable Panyaza Yusuf, he's calling himself a crash Abolova. We're not Abolova because we love to. It's because there are no opportunities in Yabon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Henry Masugu, and my question is very quick and straightforward to Build One South Africa System Ubuntu. What exactly are you going to do to ensure that young people rather find work or can create work opportunities for other young people? Build One South Africa, we want employment, but we are also voting for you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Blaine.
All right, thank you very much indeed, Bongiwe. Let's start with a question that was posed to Tukile regarding persons with disabilities.
Thank you very much. I think I'd like to just go to a point that I never got to address about the 350. It's very, very easy for people like you and I who speak this great English to talk about how 350 is a handout. But with the unemployed youth crisis, the ANC government could not sit back and watch young people be unemployed. The 350, now 370, is an intervention for a young person as they move from unemployment to employment. We are committed to it. We're going to continue with it because we care about our people. That's the first thing.
Let's give her a chance. Let's give her a chance to answer.
In relation to people living with disabilities, in this particular province, the government took a decision and legislated spend on TISH areas, township economy, right? Township, informal settlements and hostels. And that also includes supporting through goods and services procured by government, businesses that are youth-owned, women-owned, and owned by people living with disabilities. And so that is our policy, and that is what we've been implementing. It would be great to have a conversation, my sister, about some of the challenges, and we can talk about that because that is the policy of the ANC that we are implementing every day. The ANC has experience in government. It doesn't hypothesize and dream. It has experience in government. It knows what works. It knows what doesn't work. It knows where the challenges are and where we need to improve. But over and above that, we have a track record. We have leaders like Panyaza Lusufi. We have, thank you very much, who are activist government who see a problem and attend to the problem. He didn't sit back and say youth unemployment is such a crisis, let me fold my arms. He said nasi span. He didn't sit back and say skills development is a crisis, let me fold my arms. He said gonna crash all over. He didn't sit back and say electricity is a crisis in some of the townships. He said,
all right, let's give her a chance to complete the point.
That is the African National Congress who cares about the people with the track record in governance who is committed to ensuring that the life of the African child is transformed and
Thank you very much
and
indeed,
we reach
Tutukile.
our destination, which is the National Democratic Society.
Mafia, pick up on the point that was raised here with regards to internships and permanent jobs. There's a big difference between job opportunities and actual jobs, right? How do we get this right?
My brother, I think maybe before I answer that question, I must make it clear to Figile that the ANC is not doing us any favor to govern this country. We did not ask them to be government. And the ANC must never expect us to praise the fish for swimming. When they are government, they must give what they promised to our people. So now what I'm going to say is, the EFF manifesto is very much clear. Build a state-owned security companies, take all security guards who are working under government departments and public institutions, insource them and make sure that they've got a better living wage, make sure that they've got all the benefits that they need, and scrap off the issue of outsourcing. Build a state-owned housing and roads company that is going to deal with the social housing and road infrastructure backlog. Build a state-owned a company that is going to look into the cleaners that are cleaning our public institutions today and make sure that you insource them. Because when you insource our mothers, you are actually putting money on their pocket and you are putting food on the table. Now, what you must understand is, we are not going to create any jobs in South Africa if the minerals of South Africa are still not beneficiated in South Africa. The minerals of South Africa are beneficiated outside and they come back here with value added on them and they become expensive to us. We must beneficiate our own mineral resources here at home.
Right.
We must make a legislation or put a legislation, enact a legislation to say all government departments, all state-owned enterprises must hire at least 40% of the youth of our country.
A very interesting point that you
But
made.
let me finish this point because you gave Figile a lot of airtime. We have been watching.
You can finish
No,
your
no,
point,
wait.
and then we're going to move on. Finish your point, Martin.
I'm finishing now. 80%.
Let's give him a chance. Let's give him a chance to finish his point.
80% of the goods and services.
Let's give him a chance, ladies and gentlemen.
80% of the goods and services that must be offered to government departments, those services must be procured within locally and they must be procured to companies that are here local. That will create more and more job opportunities.
A very important point that you raised with regards to beneficiation, and we had this conversation before. Beneficiation is the transforming of minerals into a higher valued product. But the question becomes, are communities benefiting from beneficiation? What do you think, Nobuntu? There was a question directly to you with regards to job creation. Is that part of it?
Yes, so there was a question about job creation, and I think one of the things that it's an elephant in the room that we actually just have to face, is that the mainstream economy cannot absorb the level of unemployment we have in this country. And that's the reality. And so as Build One SA, what we've tabled is that we've got to make sure that we expand the economy. And to expand the economy, you've got to focus on the informal trade sector. You have to focus on small businesses. You have to focus on township businesses that are in townships. And when we talk about the township economy, we're talking about building factories in townships. We're talking about investing in factories that are owned by people who live in townships. We're talking about agribusiness in townships. We're talking about making sure that we have scalable businesses in townships. And in that way, not only do you create more employment because you've expanded the economy, but secondly, what you then do is that you make sure that people live where they work. And you stop the spatial injustice of people who have to travel every day from one place to the other for hours, leaving their families. And so that's how you create jobs.
Robbie?
And that's how you actually make sure that you put power back in the hands of people.
All right. Let's get your point, Robbie.
Thank you, Plate. Thank you. Thank you. You know, at 350 is an insult to a graduate in South Africa. And it doesn't, and it perpetuates ANC, you know, ANC promises 2.5 million jobs. We are saying the youth that is discouraged voters are tired of exaggerated claims and false promises that never materialize. What we are saying as the NFP, we will explore 2.5 million avenues of how the youth can create self-sustaining employment for themselves. That is why in our manifesto we are advocating for industrialization. Let us remember, industrialization is driven by labor-saving inventions and entrepreneurial ambitions.
Right.
So by advocating, our aim is to save jobs and further create jobs by industrialization.
Right.
And it is possible. If you look at the requirements for industrialization, is the resources. We need we need technology and we need workforce, and all of those attributes we have in South Africa.
Your point is noted. Wiso, I'm going to come back to you now. I just want to get 2 more questions or 3 more questions, and then we're going to get closing remarks. You can include the answers in your closing remarks. Bongiwe?
All right, Blaine, I've given them 5 seconds each.
My question is very simple and it's to all the panelists. Firstly, what is your immediate action in terms of land and all the students that have been defunded by NSFAS?
Thank you.
Why are we not getting government service on digital platform? Should COVID hit us back, are we ready?
All right, next.
Thank you very much. Mine is directed to Mafia Fani. Mafia, you are welcome in this campus. As we speak now, this campus is run by the EFF Student Command. We hold the majority of the vote. My question is, I want you to clarify these people who are here, because the 6th cardinal pillar of the EFF speaks about massive development for African economy.
Thank you.
My question is that, what are you guys willing to do with land pollution and substance abuse that is killing us as youth?
Thank you very much, Blaine. It's back to you.
All right. I wish we had a longer period of time. I wish we did. But I think we can, in your closing remarks, touch on some of the issues that you think are pertinent, that you think your party can do to make a real difference. Again, we're going to have the 1 minute. So let's start with you, Tudukile. Your minute starts now.
Thank you very much. I think just on the issue of the minimum wage was legislated by the ANC government to stop hyper-exploitation of the capitalist system. It's to protect workers and ensure that workers earn a decent salary. And that's why we say you must vote for the ANC to defend the democratic gains, because there are political parties that want to take away that minimum wage. In fact, the African National Congress wants to further expand things and do a basic income grant and take it one step further. We need to defend our democratic gains. The African National Congress is not an organization that has never governed and can promise you the sky and the moon. We have experience. We know what works, what doesn't work. We're committed to economic transformation and making sure that young people not only get work, but are in a position to create jobs. And we're going to ensure that our manifesto and our 6 priorities, with priority number 1 being jobs, 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 is implemented to the latter. So we're saying to young people, the future belongs to you. You will inherit it. Wake up on the 29th and vote for the African National Congress. Thank you.
All right, Mafia, let's hear from you. Let's give Mafia a chance. Mafia, finally from the EFF, your time starts
Thank
now.
you very much. What we want to say from the Economic Freedom Fighters, we want to say, let all young people stand up in their numbers on the 29th of May. Go and cast their vote for an organization that is going to bring practical change in their lives. You know, the Economic Freedom Fighters respect the voters of South Africa. We've got a manifesto that has 260 pages. That is explaining.
Let's give him a chance, guys.
That is explaining what the EFF wants to do for the people of South Africa in essence. We've got 15 million young people now who are excluded from participating in the economy. We need to get them in the economy, and the Economic Freedom Fighters is making it clear in terms of what needs to happen. The Economic Freedom Fighters continues to say, let young people stand up, let us remove the ANC from power. The only solution that we have is to remove the ANC from power and make sure that the ANC never governs this country.
Thank you very much indeed, Mafia. Obizita.
All right.
Go on.
The NFP encourages young people to engage in the decision-making of this country. Because by voting, they are saying they are deciding on their futures and the future of this economy. So our policy is clear. Let young people be included in the economic development of this country by by creating an enabling environment for their SMEs to thrive. We are saying poor people that come from, sorry, don't disturb me. We are saying, poor people, please protect me.
Carry on, Obi.
We are
to
saying...
to the audience, let's allow them to finish their point. We've got a limited amount of time. I'm going to give you an extra 5 seconds here.
We are saying, as the NFP...
Go on. Go on.
People from deep rural areas should be given support for their SMEs to thrive. We are saying, let us support them and give them...
Okay. I had to give you extra 5 seconds because of the interruption, but thank you very much indeed. Visa, let's hear from you.
Okay, I'm going to say 3 things. Number 1, the average age of a parliamentarian right now is 58 years old. We need more young people represented in the corridors of power. Rise Mzansi is saying, get young people into parliament, making laws and representing themselves, so we don't have to have 58-year-olds and upwards speaking for us. Number 2, we are saying students and young people must be able to be whoever and whatever they want to be. Who says we want to be security guards? Who says we want to be called Amapanyaza? We are not children of Panyaza, we are children of this country, and we deserve to work and be whoever we want to be. And number 3, I want to say to young people that you need to take this future into your own hands. There are new parties, there are new leaders, there are people that want to fight for you, people who look like you, people who sound like you, people who think like you. That is us, and we are ready to serve you.
Well, thank you very much indeed. All right, let's hear from Lubuntu.
So I heard there were questions here about land distributions, there are questions about economic redistribution, but the reality is that even if you have the policies there, if you have an incapable state, if you have incapable and corrupt leaders, you will not see the difference and you will not see change. Here in South Africa, you have almost over 40% of South Africans living below the poverty line. You have almost 70% of young people unemployed. And so we need to do, as Nelson Mandela said, when he said, if the ANC do to you what the apartheid government did to you, do to the ANC what you did to the apartheid government.
All right, thank you very much indeed, Lubuntu from BOSA. Let's hear from Nicholas Nyati. Your minute starts now.
Thank you very much. In 1994, our parents voted for their political freedom. In 2024, we will have to vote for our survival as a country. Mine is to speak to the people at home. Voter apathy in South Africa has killed our democracy. I want to speak to the people at home, the people who are unemployed, the people who are suffering from crime, or Makulu who cannot afford to buy bread or milk because they have to choose. I want to say to you that the power is in your hands. Power to rescue this country is in your hands. I know that you are scared. I know that they will come and say that you owe them. But I want to tell you today that we do not owe the ANC anything. And the South Africans, we need to stand up and vote them up to liberate ourselves. So in 1994, you voted for your freedom. In 2024, we will vote for our survival.
All right, Nicholas, thank you very much indeed. That's how we wrap things up. Look, a minute is never going to be enough, right? But it's an allowance to the people that are after your vote, as we say, to express where they see are the priorities. It's important.
And Blaine, I mean, a lot of questions being raised by a lot of young people around some of the very critical issues they're faced with. One that resonates with a lot of people here, unemployment is a huge problem for young people.
100%. All right, that's how we wrap things up. Next week, we are in the Free State. We do this all over again, where we bring in the political party leaders to face off against the live audience. Thank you very much indeed to the University of Johannesburg. That's our venue. Coming up next, Democracy 30 with Oliver Dixon. Until next week, take care. Bye-bye.